Alright, let's go and build out another cruiser. They're not very effective, but the best we can do here. Ooh, and there's a sea dragon that needs to be dealt with. Well, we don't want any of our cinders being attacked. Swing along the bottom there. Yes, so we do have orbital coverage around Firaxite, but Cleftor does have units that can deorbit my planet carver. So I guess if I dropped it, say, right here, I think the deorbit range is 1. If I dropped it right here, I would be able to hit the city and maybe this guy before he shot me, but I think he would have the move and attack option online already. So that's going to be tight. We're going to need some units in there to knock that down first. Alright, so I think we've done all we can here. We could just go and take a pot shot at this guy. And let's land all of our guys at once, so we'll hold back there for now. Here, and pull back. Alright, how long is it going to take to get over here? 13 turns. Better than nothing, I guess. And the planet carver is ready. We could launch it somewhere here. It's just I don't want to get shot out of the sky. I want some element of surprise. Choose production. We'll just go research. Okay, this city is mostly healed up. Taking on the city doesn't look like it'd be too hard, but he does have units to defend. And the sea dragon is making some trouble for us. Killed by an enemy raider. Alright, so he's got units here. We're finally making landfall. Trade vessels. Internal trade routes boosting food and production. That's the best we can do. Alright, so we have that planet carver who I don't want to spring until I know it will be somewhat effective. Trade vessels, keep going over that way. Cruisers to go and that'll be fine. Unit killed, covert operations, discovered fabrication. So we can go and build out a carrier. Choose production. We're gonna need a few carriers. Add to queue. 3 carriers since they currently only have a unit capacity of 1, and we'll put the needle jets on them and give us some protection from raiders, though not a lot. Alright, we do get adjacency bonuses for... Alright, now we're within range of the city. That's probably not what we wanted. But we do want all these guys landed. Automate all our workers, that's fine, I don't have time to deal with this. Needlejet, next. Cruiser. Alright, our best yields are with Henley there. And cinders, go. Alright, needlejets, we don't have any carriers out, we've solved our planet carver. Okay, we have one carrier out. And one needlejet who wants to rebase. Planet carver can hang out there, choose production. We're gonna need another needlejet. And next turn then, I don't want to disembark right here. This guy, who is within range of the city, is still holding out just fine. This is a major defeat because he's up to 66 combat strength on that. We really need some more affinity points. Hypercommuting over to neural uploading helps with our supremacy. Do I have something even cheaper to pick up? Cognitive thought in 5 turns, climate control, we've already picked up. Did we get power systems already? Yes we did, but we haven't gotten climate control. Okay, climate control is cheap. Collaborative thought is cheap. And yeah, that's it as far as cheap stuff goes. We could go proto-genetics, but we'd have to grab transgenetics, so over to neural uploading then. Alright, so this cinder is just going to go and hide, try to draw attention away from that fortress. And while our main force here tries to pillage trade routes, pillage tiles, and generally make a nuisance. So a bunch of raiders there. Cargo capacity is 1, so we'll want this guy as close to the battlefront as possible so we can perform his air intercepts. And I wonder where Cleftor is trying to land all of these colonists. Okay, you guys, fortify. Fortify, fortify. You're standing on miasma. Pillage that. Move forward. Land. Okay, so we're good there. We're at least causing a distraction. Maybe we should have held the cinders back until we hit 12 affinity points, but the game might have been over by then. Planet Carver is still waiting. Xenomass well. And intercept. Alright, needlejet or carrier? So he's got a bunch of cities. I am disappointed we haven't revealed any Firaxite where I could drop a planet carver.
Bad news, guys, I've completed the drone sphere.
Alright, do we have more boats in the area that could help with this siege? Not exactly. Trade vessels. Continue trading. And cinders get into range. Because if we could get some orbital up around Barat, that would be good. I don't think orbitals deorbit if the city that they're using gets eliminated, but that's something we can find out. Needlejet. And cell cradle, no. Surveillance web? Eh. Total defeat. Fortify. Let's get over here. Is that miasma? It is miasma. Fortify. Who's this to the north? Tank? Tank should really be helping with this. And the carrier can come in a little closer. Planet cover, wait, needlejet. I think we should have a carrier here. Alright, I'll push forward one. Hopefully that's within rebase range of the needlejet. It was not. The rebase distance on these planes is pretty low. Alright, carrier, wait there. We don't need to stand in miasma, fortify. Earthling settlement, eh? Well, if I wanted to drop... What's on this? Franco-Iberian Devastator. We don't want to start right beside that because I'm pretty sure that can deorbit us. But if we drop the planet carver right here, if it gets deorbited, I can build a new one. Alright, let's do that. Alright, that carrier now has a needlejet and... Where did I build the planet carver? Alright, so do we still have orbital range here? We do. We can drop down right here. Let's see what this gives us. We reveal some more. Titanium. Orbital bombardment, yes. Range attack. Looks like we did do some damage to that Devastator. Good. But now, what about my ships? Fortify, fortify. Yes, yes. Soldiers. Miasma. That's major defeat. Let's stay fortified. Unit dead, unit dead. It's fine. Alright, so even though we're completely surrounding them, we really need those additional supremacy points before we can do anything. So we'll just land here. A whole bunch of science by trading there, sure. Fine. Needle jets on air intercept. And it looks like we have been doing a bunch of intercepting and taking a lot of damage while we were at it. Fortify, fortify. Our carrier's ready. Alright, over here, and a needle jet. Rebase. Alright, so we have carriers with needle jets headed to the other continent. Go grab... The cruisers are okay for taking down this city here. So these guys will go and push out cruisers. I need more affinity points, so climate control into collaborative thought. So that's at least 2 more affinity points, possibly more, but we've got to reload.
Alright, that's a crash. I'm going to need you guys to vote me relevant and someone else to host.
Sure, I'll host. Multiplayer, standard, internet. So this last part of the game, and this last video for the series, is going to be post-game recording. Mostly that's because there was a lot of background noise, as I'm sure you've noticed, and I also wanted to give my thoughts on the game in general. So with respect to this game, we were so far behind on technology, and more importantly on affinity points, that by the time we landed our Cinder army, as you can see, our Cinders got very easily destroyed. Now, for our Cinders to be any stronger, we would need at least 10 points in supremacy, and then 2 points in either of the other affinities. And it would be cheaper if we picked up points from purity or harmony. But we were behind on tech, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that this was my first game, so in future games we could try to pay more attention to grabbing techs that would help with growing our population and improving our science, and keeping our population happy. We did have, with our starting lands, the potential to definitely be a strong science civ. All that Faraxite does give a nice science boost, but that's more a question of experience. Clefter definitely did a good job, and he, from what I could tell, didn't have more than 6 cities. So he got that far ahead without any infinite city spam, which is fine. Now, as for questions about Civ Beyond Earth and multiplayer in general, I have played a few more games after this one, and I guess, I mean, while the game is fun, definitely fun in single player, and fun if you're playing with your friends for just, you know, exploring a new world, having a game together. It definitely has a lot of problems for multiplayer if you want to play it at a competitive level, at least with the level of balance and stability that we've come to expect from Civ 5 multiplayer. And that's not really asking a lot. Civ 5 isn't the most balanced game, and it's not really the most stable game either, but Beyond Earth is a step back from that. So you've seen from this game, and it's also held true in my subsequent games, that Beyond Earth is not any more stable than Civ 5, despite claims to the opposite. We do have plenty of crashes and or resyncs, which is fine. We have a community that can deal with that. You just meet up with your Steam friends, we love the game. Sure, it adds a couple extra minutes to the playtime, but if you're playing a 7-hour game, you're usually patient enough to wait a few minutes. So while it's not ideal, that's fine. The real problem with these resyncs and reloads is you can randomly lose techs, randomly lose wonders, randomly lose affinity points, and in some cases, the things you lose can't be rebuilt. So the biggest problem we've ran into is you can randomly lose your spy agency, and if that wasn't bad enough, you can't rebuild it. And even if you go back several saves, that whatever weird glitch is tied into the game, and you just can't rebuild your spy agency. So that's more of a technical problem, not so much a problem with game balance. Now, as for actual game balance, the affinity units that you unlock at 4 affinity points, so the battle suits, the cinders, and the xenoswarm, they are really strong, which makes affinity very exciting, and I can see why they would do that from a single player perspective. But it makes for a very rough transition. So if your neighbor gets to the 4 affinity points in the appropriate tech first, it's impossible to defend against, which is fine. Like, I don't mind games that try to speed things up, make some very tense and hard choice points. But the problem is that getting those affinities early is very much dependent on luck. So that is, there are 2, maybe 3, at least one quest that will give you free affinity points. And whether or not you get that quest, or whether or not that quest is easy to fulfill, is dependent on factors beyond your control. So basically, you or your neighbor could get units that are more than twice as strong as any units you could build because of random quests, which in a strategy game that you're trying to play competitively against your friends or internet compatriots is not really a good thing. Another problem for balance is that on the Protean map, we haven't, or at least I haven't played on other maps, but Protean is supposed to be the analog to Pangea. The maps are very strange looking. So in this game, I was on a peninsula to myself, and that happens in Pangea. That's okay. But the spacing of the players is totally off, at least off from what we would expect from Civ 5. Some players get grouped really close together, and others are totally separated and pretty far apart. Not only that, but the distribution of resources, especially the affinity-specific resources, is pretty far off, which isn't necessarily bad. My main criticism there is that the placement of each of the civs initially is totally off. You have clumps of civs together, and then other civs totally isolated. And then there are some more. Those are the main things. That affinity is so powerful, which in and of itself isn't necessarily bad, but that in order to get affinity early, it's dependent on luck-based things beyond your control. And along those lines, the random triggering of the quests from different buildings, particularly annoying, at least in this game, was when the reward or the quest for Institute's resolved. Also makes for these very critical timing junctures in a competitive multiplayer game dependent on luck. And so you could get that building quest, immediately after you build the building, or 10, 20, 30 turns later. And if the penalty or the benefits of the quest bonus is critical to your success or failure, then that's just not good for a strategy game. But, don't get me wrong, the game is still fun, but it definitely, in its current state, has some problems, especially if you're trying to make a competitive strategy game to be played on multiplayer.
Okay, well, GG guys, I think it's over.
Alright, good game, Clefter. I still have no idea how to accelerate as fast as you did, but this has been still a good learning experience. First multiplayer game, looks like it's pretty much done. Yep, and so we'll leave off there with some last bit of audio from the actual original recording. So I wouldn't say that I dislike Beyond Earth. It's definitely a lot of fun. I would not recommend it without reservation, but probably most of you have already bought the game, so there's still a lot of fun to be had there, but do know that there are some issues with the multiplayer, and I'd probably be more forgiving if this was a totally new game, but since they had Civ 5 to base it on, and they use a lot of the mechanics of the game engine from Civ 5, I would have hoped that things would have been a little tighter at release. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my first multiplayer game. I'll probably play another. Hopefully they'll have a patch soon.